Okay, people. So, right, just back from a press screening of Billy Connolly, Big Banana Feet. And yeah, that was a blast from the past, right? It is directed by Murray Grigor, um, who also produces along with Paddy Higson. It's David Peat handles the cinematography. Paddy Higson also edits the piece. Sound was Ian Leslie and David Skilton. Also contributions from Mark Littlewood, Bert Eels, and Penny Thompson. And essentially, right, we're following around Billy Connolly. You know what I mean? So the gist of it is this: capturing the Big Yin on and off stage during his 1975 tour of Ireland. Big Banana Feet is a captivating record of Billy Connolly on the cusp of international stardom, inspired by the fly on the wall style of D.A. Pennebaker's Bob Dylan documentary Don't Look Back. Director Murray Grigor and cinematographer David Peat present Connolly at his beguiling best, using humor and charm to successfully navigate the political tensions of 1970s Dublin and Belfast. Featuring iconic stand-up material alongside fascinating behind-the-scenes glimpses, this previously elusive milestone of British comedy is now newly restored in 2K from rare 16mm materials. So yeah, this came out in 1976, right? 1976, people, which is kind of crazy, right? Now, I did hear that it was first restored in 2012 from a single copy that they found in an American film archive, which is kind of crazy. Like, of all the places, this was in American film archive, right? So that's kind of nuts. But this is, oh man, right? When the BFI contacted me about this, I remembered that back in the back in the day, right? In the 80s, I was probably about, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think I was like 8 or something, right? My parents had this cassette. Yeah, a cassette of Billy Connolly. And I think it was this. I think it was this because watching it, I recognized a lot of the material, right? A lot of the material. I'm like, oh, fuck. I know that. I know that one, right? And I think it was because I remember having this cassette and I rinsed this thing. I played it until the tape basically was like, you know what I mean? Was yeah, that was in the Walkman constantly. And yeah, so I was definitely eager to check this out, right? And it's an interesting piece. It's an interesting piece, right? There's when you think about it was filmed in 75 while he was on tour. So the cameras and the sound, everything back then was a lot different, right? Do not watch this and expect the same quality of just any documentary you might watch today, right? Like, we looked at Simonde getting it back recently. This is not that, right? And that's clearly just because technology is advanced so much, right? So you get this crisp, really well put together thing. Like back then, it's basic cameras essentially. So you have to remember all of that. because we have these shots where, things are out of focus, like the sound, like there's bits where he's in busy rooms because it's after or before a gig, and the sound's kind of muffled, it's hard to hear, but you do get the vibe, right? You do get the vibe of Colony on it's just he's arrived in Ireland on this little plane, this tiny plane, just seeing the old planes and the oh god, I cannot remember what you call the decal essentially on these planes, and it just reminds you of some of these old airlines that are no longer around, like Monarch, right? No longer around, half of these ones. So he arrives in this tiny plane and he's in Ireland, right? And it's although, right, the copy, sometimes the copy for these things is kind of crazy, right? Because it's just like it successfully navigates the political tension of 1970s Dublin and Belfast. I don't know if it does that, right? Now, it definitely reminds you about it. You know what I mean? Because he's often asked by because there are a load of reporters, and he's asked these questions. And yeah, so he mentions, the IRA and bombs and all of this, and you're just like, oh yeah, fuck. You kind of forget that, but there was a point when it was dicey. It was so dicey. You know what I mean? The IRA hated the British, hated us. So, you know what I mean? You had to be careful. That's why England has I think it's got the most surveillance cameras in London. Something like that. It's probably not the case anymore. There's probably places with more. I don't know. But back in the day, that's what the thing was because of the whole IRA threat and everything like that. There's a point when they try to blow up all the politicians in Brighton, which, to be fair, you can get behind that. You know what I mean? You can get behind that. But there, they mention all of this. They mention that tension, because he's in Dublin first, and they're like, "Oh, I mean, how is it going to feel to go to Belfast?" You know what I mean? Like, "Oh, are you scared of going to Belfast?" You know what I mean? And so that's really interesting because as I said, you forget now about all. I mean, you remember there was a thing, but you forget the severity of it. Like how crazy and hairy it was for a period of time, a good chunk of time, right? It wasn't just like, oh, a month or so. It was, a decade at least, if not more. Probably, I feel it's maybe 2 decades. You know what I mean? So we get that. And then there's also a lot of talk about Billy's jokes, right? His crudeness, like people calling him vulgar and all of that. And you're just like, it's pretty tame when you think about comedy and just things that are said now. That was pretty fucking tame back, yeah, in comparison. But back then it was seen as like this craziness, which, when you listen to Lenny Bruce and, all of that stuff, again, like you listen to it and you think, "Oh, that's nothing now." But yeah, back then, you know, like you could not swear on TV. You know what I mean? Like you had a proper watershed, like a proper watershed on nothing, like something could not happen before. I think it was 9 p.m. Couldn't happen before 9 p.m. So a lot of these things remind you of those times, which is interesting. But then you get the stand-up material. So there's plenty of chuckles because it just reminds me, man, as I said, of listening to this cassette, right? There's jokes about being at school and trying to get the teacher's attention so you can go use a toilet, right? Oh man. So you got that one, right? There's jokes about I mean there's the oh God. There was a comedy song about the word fuck, right? But it's like the four-letter word. He doesn't say the word. You know, it's just the four-letter word. The four-letter word, which is just it just makes you chuckle, man. Just makes you chuckle. Or the kid that can fart on demand. You know, it just there's this load of those jokes. Now, one thing we do not get the answer to why banana feet, right? It's called banana feet because he's wearing big banana boots, right? But why? Right? That's the one thing that's never yeah, answered. You know what I mean? It's just like, why is he wearing those banana boots though? Right? Why? But yeah, it is like a time capsule. That's what this is. To watch this, it just brings back. So like because you just see like there's a point and in the green room, as it were. I mean, it is just a basic green, like it's just, it's not the green rooms that you might think of today. But there's like Pepsi cups, and it's the old Pepsi logo on them. Right. So you're seeing things like that, and you're like, oh fuck yes. It's just the clothes. Oh my days, the clothes, the hairstyles, the fashion. Uh, you're just shaking your head thinking, yo, people wore that. Whew, boy. Now, this was the 70s. So, yeah, I missed all of that, which was, I mean, there was plenty of bad stuff growing up in the 80s and 90s. Shell suits, you know what I mean? Things like that. Those motherfucking t shirts that would supposedly change color when your body got hot, right? But they were terrible, and they just it was just armpits that changed color essentially. I never had one of those things, but yeah, people that did, it wasn't what it was sold to be. But yeah, it's just a fashion and everything. It's just this blast from the past. Like the women that bring him tea at one venue, and you just like, oh shit. Yeah, they just remind you of dinner ladies from back in the day. It's funny, man. It's funny. So yeah, if you want to know what the 70s was like, this will give you a little glimpse. And if you're a fan of Billy Connolly and you want to see what he was like back in the day, this is the perfect window to that. Now, this will be hitting cinemas on the 10th, well, from the 10th of May, right? All over the spot. And then on the, I believe it's the 20th of May, people, it will be available, right, as a dual format DVD. Yes, a dual format. I don't know what that means. I don't know what a dual format is, right? But yeah, you will be able to pick it up restored into 2K, remember, right? You're getting extras. So it's like so it's a Blu-ray and a DVD, right? So you get a conversation with Murray Grigor and Billy Johnson, which is 18 minutes. Right? That was from I think the Glasgow Film Festival this year. right? You get a kaleidoscope, right? It says a panor- panorama of the Clyde from Biggar to Briddick. The Billy Connolly is your guide. Um, Blast, right? 24-minute piece from 1975, made for the Arts Council of Great Britain. Murray Grigor's award-winning short film explores Vortism, a radical art movement of the early 20th century. Restoration demo, 2 minutes, a before and after look at the restoration of Big Banana Feet. You get a rear release trailer. And in the first pressings, you get a booklet featuring writings by Claire Walker, David Archibald, Murray Grigor, and Douglas Weir. So yeah, you can own Big Banana Feet in DVD and Blu-ray from the 20th of May. So cinema on the 10th, DVD and Blu-ray from the 20th. So there you go, people. Billy Connolly, Big Banana Feet. If you're a fan, this will make you smile for sure.